How will blockchain technology impact global trade? We're going to cover that today as we go through trade finance and how using distributed ledger technology, DLT tokens, is going to change the world of trade finance considerably. All right, welcome to today's video. We're going to talk about the uber sexy topic of trade finance. I feel like I do need a better label for that. But this is essentially how the global supply chain works. So one thing I never thought about or didn't know until not too long ago was that when products are moved around the globe, if you order, a box of widgets from China and these widgets are sent to Florida, that whole process is not paid for in cash. So the company that orders the widgets from Florida isn't fronting a whole lot of money. This global supply chain works on credit. So they take out a short-term loan, and that short-term loan, pays for the manufacturing, and then they have all these different people who participate in the supply chain. One company gets it from A to B, and then it goes through a distribution place and goes from B to C, etc. So this whole process of moving products around the globe, it works. We certainly get lots of stuff from everywhere, but it requires a lot of paperwork. It's a very manual system at this point. And paperwork has to be signed, it has to be filed, it has to be kept track of, and then there are banks who participate in this funding process. And so if I take out a loan with the bank, they then have to have cash in some local bank somewhere so they can actually give the money to the person in whatever country they're in. So they're called correspondent banks. These correspondent banks have to also have a lot of money in each account, those called Nostro accounts, to fund all this process. So there's a lot of opportunity to modernize it, to make it more efficient and faster and less prone to sort of data entry errors, less prone to fraud or even just mistakes from accidentally paying the same invoice twice or losing an invoice, that kind of a thing. And so that's one of the things that the blockchain is really good at, is fast transactions, cheap transactions, and keeping a record of transactions. It's essentially what the blockchain is. It's basically a database, kind of like a database in the cloud where it gets updated in real time. There's usually many copies of this database. It's part of the whole sort of securing the database process. And if these orders were tracked using the blockchain and the money was moved via the blockchain, this whole system of having to keep paperwork updated would go away. And so the companies that participate in this, especially these banks that have to store money, and the companies that have to, the banks take a cut. So if I'm shipping stuff, ultimately part of my profit margin is covering this banking process. If I could cut that out and essentially use the blockchain for all of this, it would make me way more profitable. Or in many cases, when you have innovation like that, it actually lowers prices. It results in deflation, which would right now be a very good thing for the globe. And sometimes people think deflation is like a bad word, but we've seen deflation as a result of innovation in many areas. When flat screen TVs first came out, they were exorbitantly expensive, and now they're actually quite affordable and they sell them everywhere. So this could be a situation where modernization will just make things more efficient and lower the price of shipping, which would be great. Okay, so the current challenges with this process, I did say some of these already. The manual invoice tracking is just tedious and difficult. There's fraud. There's often delays that if I have to get something manually signed by a physical person, I have to get that paper to them. And let's say they're out of town or, on vacation or whatever, we have to sometimes wait. And so if that could be done via some sort of app, via your phone and the blockchain, that would be much faster. And then the middleman banking, correspondent banks, they also are part of the process, and they have humans that have to get paid salaries and tech infrastructure, software that needs to be maintained. So if they were kind of removed from the process, that would also lower the cost for this. So there's sort of two main areas that trade finance will benefit from the blockchain. The first one is making all of the documentation digital. If you've ever used something like DocuSign, you know that how much faster it is to approve and sign a document than it was back in the day when you had to sort of physically get it in the mail and then sign it and then mail it back, or even in an era where you would fax it. It still was more tedious to have to print stuff out or whatever. Okay, so that would be the first major efficiency benefit, and these documents could be sent via the blockchain, via NFTs or something similar. And then when the contract was signed, it could use what's called smart contracts. So let's say I'm going to pay you $10 for something, but I'm only going to do that once this document is signed. We could program a smart contract via the blockchain to literally release the funds to your account as soon as that the signature is confirmed. There's also ways to streamline financing, which kind of similar to what I just said, but let's say there's like a whole bunch of people who are part of a supply chain and people are only supposed to get paid when stuff is delivered. There's sort of all these if-then conditions. If you program all of that into the blockchain, then all that stuff can be automated. And the minute, the scanner tracks that the box of widgets has gotten to a certain port, the funds are released to somebody. So all that stuff that was being done manually and had to be kept track of would be done automatically via this blockchain. So there are many blockchains that have the potential to fill this gap. But the one that I've sort of studied the most and seems to be most connected to this space is the XDC token, which is, I believe, pronounced Zinfin. I never know how to pronounce words that start with X other than X-ray. So I think it's Zinfin. And this is a crypto token, blockchain token that can be used as settlement for the various elements of trade finance, which sometimes are bonds, kind of like loans, sometimes letters of credit, insurance, and it will function with smart contracts and loan collateral. So if I had to take out a loan, but you want to make sure I was good for it, I could use some kind of collateral to ensure that I'm not going to flake out and not pay the bill. This blockchain also allows for private transactions where people everywhere on the blockchain aren't seeing all of our detail, but with public confirmation, so that if somebody else is monitoring it, like we have like a project manager type who wants to just make sure that everybody got paid, but doesn't necessarily need to see like the details of my bank account or my wallet address or something like that. This is what we call having private transactions, but with public confirmation. So that's pretty cool that this blockchain supports that. We also can have smart contracts on multiple blockchains that are interoperable. So I could have something potentially on like the XRP ledger for something, and that could connect and be compatible in a way with another smart contract that's running on XDC. So it's not like you're either all on this or nothing. A lot of these blockchain protocols are interoperable. And then it also will help minimize fraud and miscommunication, because when something's on the blockchain, we don't have to worry about misunderstanding what you meant, or I misread the email, or wait, I thought you said blah, blah, blah. This would all just be done via an automated system. And this is big money. Like the global trade finance world is $5 trillion. And that's like an estimate that I don't even know like if it's higher at this point. But this is not chump change. This is bigger, way bigger than the entire crypto market, like by 5 times. So the opportunity to make this more efficient means these companies that are participating in this trade finance right now, like they're going to save a lot of money. And that is one of the best sort of offers in business, is like, hey, if I come to you and I can save your business $1 million a year by automating something, that is generally a pretty compelling reason to kind of go through the pain of like changing your systems. So I do think we're going to see some pretty cool revolutionization of trade finance and the global supply chain by using the blockchain to move money around. So that's how that's going to work. Check out the comments if you want to read some of my blog posts or see some other videos that are related to this topic. And if you would like some more in-depth analysis on the blockchain and the future of money and geopolitics and how all this kind of plays together, feel free to check out our first free issue of 2 Steps Ahead report. You can join and get a report every other week to help you improve your portfolio and kind of just know what's coming ahead. All right, we'll see you in the next video.